All right, everybody, back for part 2. So, I'm just going to make sure that the stream is healthy and everything before we get too deep into it. But what we're going to be working on is the other example. All right, so everybody, back for part 2. I got to turn off my freaking sound because I'm watching my own video. Make sure that it works. All right, so we did this one, which we kind of got over here. And now we wanted to work on this one. So I'm going to start by just duplicating this one. So we'll call this blog section maybe like 2 column with sign up, something like that. And find that here, 2 column with sign up. And there's probably not going to be that much that's the same between both of these, I don't think. Like, I bet you even the titles and all that stuff are different sizes, but maybe not. 36, 40. Oh, yeah, they're actually pretty similar. 24 gap, 20 gap. A little bit of differences, but some of this stuff is actually kind of close. So I think what I'm going to do to start is get rid of anything that I know for sure we don't need. It's going to be a white background now. Padding is 64, 59, but we'll call it 64. And get rid of this text center. Otherwise, though, I think like a lot of that stuff is the same. This max width, we'll get rid of that. But let's check on the size here. So this is 2028. 2028. So it was just this MT6 that was different. So let's just get this top part looking the same and then we'll move on. And then underneath that, I think it's basically starting from scratch. All right, so let's check it out. So we'll just update this, press, and we'll say, man, this is killing me. Let's put this over here so hopefully we can see. Press and get weekly articles in your inbox. Then underneath here, we're going to have a form. So I think I'm actually just going to like see if we have a form in the marketing section stuff that's similar to that already, like in newsletter sections. These are kind of beefy looking, but probably similar. Like what's the size of this? This is a 44 pixel button. And this is a 50 pixel button. Let me see. There's one other place I can think to look that might have something close enough to borrow, which is this one, 50. I wonder if Steve did this on purpose or if 50 even exists or if 44 even exists. That's 50, 42. Yeah, so we probably want the size 42 stuff. I think I'm still going to start with the newsletter section though. So let's just find where that is. It's basically this form. And I guess since we have a form element, we can just use it like this. I'm going to get rid of the classes on the wrapper, but should get us like in a decent spot for the beginning. What's the width on this? 512. Okay, so we're going to want to go flex here. And if we want this to be the 42 pixel button, I have to remember what the dimensions for that are. So it's px4, py2, leading 6, text base. And then that'll be the same for this one. right, so that's the smaller one. Okay, and then we have a gap between them of, it's at 10 pixels. That's not a real value. So we'll go with 12. Make sure it never wraps or anything. And Steve has it as a black button. So we can make those changes here. We'll go gray 800, hover, gray 700. And then, let's see. This is, I found a bug. That's annoying. It's the wrong outline on the thing that we copied. And normally we're doing like, I think like focus, border, gray, 900. Something like that. Yeah. I'll have to ask Steve what he wants to do for the focus states on the black buttons. Let's not overthink that part for now, though. Maybe we'll just go with the regular outline. Yeah, it's probably good. And then we'll do an active state of BG gray 900. So when it's clicked, it's darker. Right? All right, so that's okay. So enter your email, notify me. I think that's all gonna be totally good. We have an ARIA label on that, so it's accessible. We've got a gap of 27 here, so Steve is starting to torture me again. I guess we'll just call that that. Part of me wonders if we should use the same gap that we did here too. I'm just going to change things on him and blame his own inconsistency. So what do we got? Did this do my MT5 that I expected? Yeah. Done on the form. We've got an MT6. Okay, and let's make sure that we do keep open the responsive thing here. So we're looking at it at like, I usually start at 320, which is like iPhone SE size. Make sure that it works there. It feels like this gap is huge. But we'll do a review with Steve when he's ready. All right, so then we've got a 2 pixel border. So border T2, border gray 100. That's a really light border. And distance between this and this is 24. Did the stream die? So just had some weird error border show up about Python or something. So let's just hope that things are fine. All right, so that was what, 24? MT6. Something about Ecamm Live that I don't love is it's like showing me 2 copies of my video that I can't seem to like stop. So my computer is like trying to play all these videos at the same time, which feels like totally unnecessary. Okay, yep, it's fine. All right, so then we have these chunks down here. All right, so let's see, what's the distance between this and this? 40? So I think to me that's like at least a PT10, might be PY. Depends how we want to think about it, but we'll start with PT. And then we'll get some of this stuff in here. So we're going to have, it doesn't want to autocomplete a time element, eh? That's interesting. Date time 2020-03-16 again. And I guess we'll make this like a H3 contextually. Boost your conversion rate. Lorem ipsum. And then there's a link under that in a block level element. Read full story. And the link is text base, letting 6, font semi-bold, text indigo 600. And I think we do hover text indigo 500. And I think we also do transition, ease in, out, duration 150 as like a default for that stuff. Yeah. Okay. And I used to do for focus styles, I was doing like focus underline, focus outline none. But we've been working with an accessibility consultant to make sure that we're doing everything as good as possible. And he said that just doing an underline on focus is not going to be sufficient for WCAG 2.2 or something. And that he recommends just leaving the browser outline there. So even though it's ugly, I've decided to just leave it because you don't see it when you click it, right? And it's not like it's there all the time. And for someone who's actually tabbing through, I don't think they're going to mind. I think it's just kind of default browser stuff and they're comfortable with it. Whereas stuff like form inputs, you actually do see the focus styles when you're just using the mouse. And same with buttons. Actually, when you click a button and release it, it stays focused. But when you click a link and release it, it doesn't stay focused. So I care more about focus styles on buttons and inputs than I do on links in terms of making them look nice. I have not heard anything back from GitHub about the private repo thing, unfortunately. Probably never will. Let's put this in a p tag since time is inline. Text SM, letting 5, text gray 500, just because this is the old gray. And this is going to be text XL, letting 7, font semi-bold, text gray 900. MT2. And this is MT3, sorry. Text base, letting 6, text gray 500. Yep, that's getting there. And then the link to here is 3. And then between each one, we have 64. So that's 16. All right, so let's just see. Here's like our starting point. We need to do, eventually it needs to go to this like 2x2 grid. And I'm guessing, what's the gap here? 48 and 20. So if we're saying this is 64, I think I'm going to do the same thing we did for the other one where we make this a grid layout. So we'll say grid, gap 16 to start. So just like a single column grid. And then if we make 4 of these, we get kind of the spacing that we want. And then I guess we'll just bump up to the next breakpoint and see what we need to do here. So usually I check 639 to make sure like things don't look weird in any way, because this is kind of like the biggest something can be before it switches breakpoints. So by testing this one, it usually helps me know like, should I add a max width to things or anything like that. That seems okay. So then at 640, I'm guessing here Steve still has it. Yeah, still gonna have to be single column. Now he has a max width of 512 on this entire thing, which I think is maybe not the right way to build this. Like centered. But I'll have to ask him, because if you imagine you had another section above this that was like full width, where it had some child content that did have to go all the way to the edge, it might look weird that this is centered while the other stuff isn't, but maybe it's fine. So we'll just build it like his design, and then yeah. Oh, the Basecamp thing is now. I really wanted to watch that. Let's go quick so I can finish, so I can watch that. So let's just put a max width on this whole thing. So instead of doing 7XL, let's do 512 divided by 16 is 32. I think that's like max width LG. So now we should be able to see, like, it just kind of stays centered, right? Which is kind of nice. But eventually we get to a point where we can fit things side by side, which I think is 1024. So that's when we'll kind of change the layout a little bit. So I think at 1024, which is LG, we'll say max width none, or we'll say max width 7XL, because that's the kind of like our full screen version. And then what we're going to do is turn this grid into a 2-column grid. So let's say LG grid calls 2. All right, so there's like a 2-column grid now. Now, one thing we do need to think about is the gaps. So Steve has 20 pixels between columns and 48 between rows. So we're going to want to say call gap 5, row gap 12. Okay, so that's kind of Steve's style. And does anything change here? So the only thing that else that we have to do is the header now. So what is Steve doing here? At large screens, he's putting them side by side. And this is like right aligned. This is going to be maybe harder than it looks, because he's got this like centered with the paragraph. Let's try it. So basically we need to put a div around these so that they can be in the same flex container, and that means that this MT5 should get moved there, in my opinion. And then on large screens we'll do flex, LG item center, LG justify between, and here we're going to go LG MT0, and we're also going to go LG flex shrink 0, and oh, he's doing it at 50-50, so that's, in some ways that's easier. We can just go LG grid calls 2, LG gap 5. I think we still need to do item center though, and then this can, yeah, so what's this like now? So now this, he has that right aligned, but he doesn't have it 50-50 anymore. I'm not sure what his intentions are for this. If it's supposed to be 50-50 or not. Like, if I turn on the grid in this frame, yeah, it's not really to the grid. I wonder if it's just simple enough to say we need to do like justify self end. Like, is that right? maybe this is part of the problem too. Like, do we want this to be like bigger? Huh, that doesn't affect anything, eh? So here's the form. I would have thought that this max width thing usually it's weird that width full doesn't probably we need to do width full on this, and then yeah. So this justify self thing doesn't actually matter. What we really need is flex, LG, justify, end. Okay. And we'll go to the max width of something smaller on the input. Two-thirds for text and one-third for input. All right, Steve, I could do that if that's what you want to do. XL grid calls 3, and then we can just say XL call span 2. And I think we'll still do LG. Maybe we'll just get rid of this max width thing. I don't know, that looks kind of weird too. So I think I kind of like just doing like the 2-column grid and doing the LG justify end on this with the SM max with SM or whatever. Where it's just kind of like over on the right, you know? Or even like XS. So it's like still kind of technically in 2 columns. I don't know. Me and Steve will have to look at this together. But otherwise, I think that's basically the whole thing. So there you go. There's like this layout done. That was even faster than the other one. So question about the 38 pixel inputs. That is a whole story. But basically, there's no way to make an input fit on an 8 pixel grid because of the borders without doing some really convoluted stuff. So you always have that 1 pixel on top and 1 pixel on bottom, so it ends up being 2 pixels taller than whatever other dimensions we include. So unless we try to give it a fixed height, which we can't do because text areas have to be dynamic heights, then we have to just let them be 2 pixels bigger, which in practice has just ended up being fine. But yeah, I think that's going to be this whole stream. We kind of built out what I wanted to build out. I got more work to do today, and I want to watch that Basecamp thing. So hope that was helpful, and catch you at the next one. And now I got to figure out how to end the stream again because like none of my controls are on screen. So here we go. This will be actually finishing it. And bye.